All right, everybody, welcome into another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we are each going to be predicting the defensive rookie of the year by drafting 10 rookies against each other. Last week, we did the offensive rookie of the year version of this. And we're going to be talking about the DeAndre Hopkins being released and all the DeAndre Hopkins landing spots and ideal situations. So, how are you doing, Josh?
Doing good. I'm really excited to this draft. Also, really excited to talk about D Hop. That was it was an interesting cut. I mean, they're literally cutting him to save $5 million and taking on $22 million of dead cap. So that gives DeAndre Hopkins some flexibility this season on kind of pick which team he wants to go to. Because I'm pretty sure he'll do probably a team friendly deal and go to a team that's a contender for sure.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this interesting is he's really just going to go to whoever pays him the most, and so I think it's just whoever opens up their checkbook the most. He doesn't really care where he's going. Obviously, he wants to have a good quarterback and to go to a contender, but I think only contenders are going to be offering him
Yeah,
contracts.
100%. So I mean, let's just do hypothetically, like let's do three landing spots, like we were talking about earlier. I think it's the best fit, scariest fit, and then sleeper, right?
Yep. So yeah, let's do a little game. I want to hear your scariest fit. So what fit for DeAndre Hopkins just scares you the most on just a pure NFL standpoint, where you just think that he'll thrive and that team will do the best?
I think we all know it's
We all
inevitable.
know.
Yeah, it's gonna be the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, the Chiefs are gonna end up with DeAndre Hopkins, and it'll be a very team friendly. I feel like they'll pay him a lot, but I feel like it's gonna be a team friendly deal for what he should deserve. He's gonna probably play with Patrick Mahomes. He's gonna thrive in that system, and it scares the hell out of me. And I feel like it's just inevitable at this point. I feel like you can just we can pretty much just close the book because I feel like that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's so scary. I mean, if he goes to the Chiefs, man, I that's the one team where I can't have that happen, man. I don't want that to happen. I really don't.
Just for
Um,
me and your sanity and souls, it would just suck the life out of us. That would just be such a dagger in the heart.
I mean, just think about it. That Chiefs offense. I mean, it's a fine receiving core now, but adding DeAndre Hopkins to Tony and Rashi Rice and MVS and
Oh,
Kelsey, and come on, that's just almost unfair, borderline unfair.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's probably is that your scariest fit too?
Oh yeah, that should be everyone's scariest fit. Let's hear your most productive. So like fantasy football wise, where do you think he would be the most productive if you were to go?
Oh gosh, I was kind of torn on this one. There was a couple teams I was kind of thinking of, and I honestly really wanted to see him. This is kind of just like very far fetched, but I feel like he would going back to the Texans. I thought about this for a long time. They're a team with money. He'd be going back home, and they're a team that could really use that, that level of expertise and that NFL veteran in the locker room like DeAndre Hopkins is, and they're totally under new management now. I think I really we both really love their coach. And I feel like, him going to I mean, because he'll be productive anywhere. I just think if you give him a true wide receiver one role, which he would go back to the Texans and be the true wide receiver one. I mean, he made guys like, gosh, I mean, let's name the quarterbacks that he played with
Oh
he
man,
and was
that's
still
some
a
names
top
that we'd have.
receiver.
I don't even know, other than Deshaun Watson for like a year. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he had Deshaun Watson for a year, but before that, and even while the Deshaun Watson era it was always the backups. I mean, so he could play with
The only
anyone.
name I can think of is Tom Savage, and that kind of just shows you.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of like where I feel like he'd be the most productive, and I'd love to see it because he can make any quarterback look. I mean, he can be productive in any offense just given the targets. So I liked the Texans fit. That was mine. What was yours?
I did the Bills. It was hard because I kind of see him taking a little bit of a step back to wherever he goes. I feel like he'll kind of take a more complementary role. I don't really know if he'll be a focal point of any offense he goes to. I did the Bills just because that offense is going to be so high powered. If he does go there, he complements Diggs so perfectly that I think that's probably the most like fantasy productive. But
Right.
I mean, now that I think about it, the Bills have a lot of weapons too. So I don't really. I mean, maybe the Chiefs are the most productive. Like just him and
Right.
Mahomes. That
Yeah,
upside
him
is
and
crazy.
Mahomes. But I mean, I don't know. My Texans, I feel like he'd step in and be immediate wide receiver one, and he would. I mean, CJ Stroud would lean on him heavily. So
You're
that's
probably right in that role where he really would be just that focal point of the offense on a good culture, like a team that's establishing things on offense. I really love that fit so much that probably would get me the most excited for fantasy for sure. I think Stroud would love him. Just throw it up to him. I mean, their receivers are so bad that he really would just be dominant for the Texans. So I actually love that. Or even the Browns, going back with Deshaun Watson.
yeah, it'd be interesting. And then, who do you want to go first for sleeper fit?
I'll go first for sleeper team since mine is actually the Browns, who I just mentioned. I think the Browns have a pretty real good shot at getting DeAndre Hopkins because of that Deshaun Watson connection, and Hopkins has said he's open to it, and they had a really good connection. I don't know if you guys remember. Watson loved Hopkins, and Watson was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL with him, and I mean, I think the Browns are a real sleeper to get him.
Yeah, I really like that, and I like he already has that connection, and they were great together for the little amount they played. So I do like that. I'm gonna go, so my sleeper is actually gonna be another AFC North team. It's gonna be the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh,
I think the Ravens are all in on trying to make Lamar Jackson happy. And he actually did say that he wanted to play with Odell Beckham Jr. and DeAndre Hopkins.
sure.
And so I could see the Ravens going all in this year. I mean, the AFC North is a tough division. And so I could see the Ravens going all in. And I see that Lamar Jackson jersey in the back, Dan. I like it. Dan
Sir.
moved into the new place. His
Mm.
his new pod setup is sick. But I could see the Ravens as being a sleeper. I could see them going all in and trying to get a DeAndre Hopkins. I feel like he would complement that. I mean, they already have quite a bit of receivers, but I mean, I don't feel like they have a true number one like D Hop. Odell, he's kind of hit or miss, but like a true possession receiver, D Hop would be amazing in that offense.
Yeah, I don't even know if he would complement those receivers. He would just complete that receiving core perfectly.
Yeah.
Like that would make it one of the best receiving cores we've seen in a few years, probably since that Buccaneers receiving core with Antonio Brown. That would be fun. I want to throw in the Lions as well because the Lions could replace DJ Chark with him, and man, he would be really productive there, really productive, and he'd be the main outside guy with him and Amon-Ra. So I like the Lions as a fit too. But let's hear a fit that you don't like for DeAndre.
Oh gosh, a fit that I don't like.
There's one that really stands out to me. I feel like you might choose it too.
Gosh, you go first. So there's two
Okay.
that I'm thinking of. I want to hear yours first.
The one that really stands out to me that just does not excite me at all, and I probably wouldn't even draft him in fantasy if it happened, is the Jets. I think him coinciding with Corey Davis and Alan Lazard and
Oh yeah,
um, Garrett Wilson, obviously, who should just be the main focal point in his own right. And
right.
I'm missing a lot more. I mean, obviously, like Denzel Mims, Corey Davis. There's a lot of just bigger receivers over there, and I don't like that fit at all. I get Aaron Rodgers is there, and they're going to be good, but there's just a lot better fits.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Jets are a good fit that I wouldn't like either. It's already a crowded receiver room. I think they need to lean heavily, like you said, on Garrett Wilson being the number one. But I mean, I was gonna say this fit just because I don't like we talk about how much we hate him, the Cowboys. So I mean, it would be a cool wide receiver tandem with him and CeeDee Lamb, but with how Mike McCarthy plays offense and how he says he's going to play is just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And I feel like CD Lamb needs to be the focal point of that offense. He's younger, he's upcoming. I mean, it's kind of a cool fit to think of CD Lamb and DeAndre. I just don't love the system with Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, totally agree. With that, do you want to get on to our defensive rookie of the year draft?
Yes, sir. Dan, you
Should be a
got the
fun one.
first pick today.
Yeah, I
I'm
got the
pumped
first pick.
'cause I feel like I know who you're gonna take, and I'm sad about it because I feel like he's such a front runner.
Yep, just like offensive with Bijan Robinson, I'm going to take the heavy favorite to win the defensive player of the year, and that is Will Anderson.
Could have never have guessed it.
Out of Alabama for the Houston Texans. Man, D'Amico Ryans is gonna have so much fun using and developing this guy. I've been talking about it all offseason, but man, I'm very confident in D'Amico Ryans getting the most out of Will Anderson and the Texans in general as a team. And I think it's just gonna be a great defensive culture over there. And fans are gonna start taking notice. And I really think that he can kind of be a cornerstone for that Texans team and be like their best player as a rookie. And there's an easy route for him to get Rookie of the Year. He can do special things as a star of that Texans team this year.
Oh yeah, I mean, D'Amico Ryan's the head coach. Such a friendly system for Will Anderson to go into. Learning from a total guru. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's like quarterback though. Edge is kind of like always the favorite to win. Just how these awards work. Rookie of the Year, just because the sack production is kind of stands out. Like for corners, it's a little bit harder to get picks where a guy like Will Anderson could come in here and get 8.5, 12 sacks his rookie year, and that stands out to people, and that's just kind of how the award works. But yeah, I mean, he's the clear front runner. He was blue chip freak of this class, and I think he's the obvious number one.
Just so
And
excited to watch him.
yeah, so we'll get into my number two here, which is probably going to throw you for a loop, but I have a gut feeling, and I'm going with my gut, and I want to take him here because I don't want you to take him. So it's going to be Mr. Christian Gonzalez.
Ooh,
Which, playing devil's advocate with what I just said, it's harder for corners to win this award, but Christian Gonzalez is going into such a friendly system. And I swear to you, every single week, the Patriots defense had 3 or 4 picks and were scoring a touchdown. And Christian Gonzalez is coming into that number one role where he's the true. I mean, like everyone on the Patriots seems to be like 5'10. They're all small corners, but he's going to be a true over 6 foot tall guy playing the outside, and kind of like Sauce Gardner was last year. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Um, I feel like Christian Gonzalez is just going to be such a sound prospect. I don't think teams are going to be able to throw against him. And with all these advanced stats that we have, with passer rating, pass breakups, all these things that we keep track of, fans will notice that with Christian Gonzalez. So I'm kind of banking on that. And I think he was the steal. He was one of the steals of the draft. He should have never fallen to the Patriots. They traded back and got him. Ridiculous. But I think he's a sneaky, sleepy guy to win this award. I think you could see him having 5 or 6 picks this year in his rookie year, just because he's going into such a good defense.
yeah, I respect how high you have him. I will say I had him at 4, and I thought I was high on him, but I'm I'm happy you took him there because I get my second guy at pick 3. But I like Christian Gonzalez a lot. He's going to be coached up extremely well in New England. He's built in a lab. The man's just a perfect cornerback prospect. His potential is literally through the roof, and the sky's the limit. So I can 100% see why you have him this high, and I could totally see a world where he wins this award. Because think about it, their corners on their team are all shorter corners. Marcus Jones, Jonathan Jones, Jack Jones. They're all just shorter guys, and Christian Gonzalez is the guy that they're going to put on the other team's imposing threat, and Christian Gonzalez is going to shut him down because he's so long and fast, and he can just mirror any big number one receiver. So I think that he's going to get a lot of notice guarding number one receivers next year in New England.
100%. And I think there'll be a fair amount of bad throws thrown his way, just because of that pass rush and how New England plays defense. Like, he's going to have a fair shot at a lot of ball production. So I'm excited to see that.
Josh Uche and Matthew Judon probably would be the reasons Christian Gonzalez win this award. So, and that pass rush is fun. So I like that a lot. Let's get into my number 3, who this is hard because I have my number 2 and 3 guys both available, and they're both right next to each other. But I'm gonna take Devon Witherspoon, who is my number 2 guy on my rankings. I really want him in this draft because I think there's a world where he surpasses Tariq Woolen, who was like a top 10, top 5 corner in the NFL last year, is the Seahawks CB1. And I think he can be the Seahawks best corner next year. And as we saw with Sauce last year, corners are starting to get recognized like by the casual fan. It wasn't too long ago where corners just weren't respected or recognized at all, but it's starting to be a more popularized position. And man, Devon Witherspoon is just a mirror. He's so shut down. He's just so respected in today's game. And as we saw with Sauce last year, like, corners can be flashy. He can get some pick sixes and really put his name out there for this award. And I genuinely think that Witherspoon has a real chance at winning this award if a few things go right. Across from Tariq Woolen, this could be one of the best duos in the NFL, and just a lot of people are going to be tuning into the Seahawks defense.
100%. Yeah, I love that pick. And teams, since they have Tariq Woolen, teams aren't going to throw Tariq Woolen because what he did last year. I mean, the dude had like 7 picks. I mean, it was fantastic, and teams just didn't know him, and they kept throwing at him, and he was just proving. He was out there showing out. And so I think teams are going to respect him a little bit more this year. And so you're going to have teams throwing at Devon Witherspoon because he's a rookie. And I don't think that's a good idea for other teams to do that. I mean, this guy he's a flawless, sound corner. He reminds me of Denzel Ward. He's ultra aggressive. I think you'll see this guy with some highlight reel hits, coming up and playing the run. So I love that. And, like the casual fan who sees that, they're going to notice that kind of stuff. I think he would be a good, I think he might even have some sacks coming off the edge. I mean, he's an ultra aggressive guy that can get after it, come up and stuff the run. And, he just reminds me of Denzel Ward, who's one of my favorite corners. And so I love that pick. I had him super high. I'm a little bit bummed you picked him. I was trying to go all corners, but love the pick.
I wanted to mention, I really do have a feeling a corner is going to win the award this year. Like I really, really do. It could be an edge rusher, but I really feel like it's going to be a corner again. And there's a lot more corners we're probably going to be talking about in this episode too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so we'll get into my number 4, which I didn't think he'd be available here. I'm a little surprised. Because there's another guy who has really high on that. I just have to wait on. Hopefully don't pick him.
Don't
But
take it.
I'm
Don't
gonna
take
have
my
to
guy.
I'm gonna have to take Jalen Carter here.
No, no. I thought
this
I'd
is
still.
this is at pick number 4. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling healthy about it. Jalen Carter's coming into a system where the Eagles broke the sack record last year, and I mean the only thing that scares me a little bit is how many snaps he's going to get because he's going in such a crowded defensive tackle room already. But Jalen Carter, you saw his production at Georgia. He's going to come and play along some of the best defensive linemen in all of the NFL, with Josh Sweat, Fletcher Cox, I mean, Jordan Davis is there. So this guy's going to have an opportunity to get after the passer. And, for a defensive tackle, I wouldn't be surprised if he has 6-7 sacks in his rookie year. He can have that type of production in the Eagles defense. And, coming from a defensive tackle, that's hard to do. We only really see like guys like Aaron Donald doing that. And so I'm feeling really healthy with this pick. I probably could have taken him at number 2 and got Gonzalez here, but we flip-flopped it. So I'm glad to get Jalen Carter right here.
I was hoping you'd fall one more spot to me, but yeah, the Eagles are going to be so good, like so good. They could be playing in the Super Bowl, and he could be their best defensive player, and he'll get votes for the defensive rookie of the year if that's the case, and that's a real possibility, a real possibility. And he could be their most productive pass rusher, probably outside of Reddick, I guess. But he's going to open up a lot for Hassan Reddick and Nolan Smith, and
100%.
I just think that Jalen Carter is just going to be so good alongside Jordan Davis. He's going to get a lot of pass rush production, which is going to be big for his rookie of the year possibilities.
100%.
And he would be higher if he wasn't a defensive lineman and if he wasn't have the off-field concerns, but I don't think we're too concerned about that. He has just as good of a chance to win this as anybody else.
100%. I'm feeling really good getting him at 4. So who's the 5th guy, Dan?
All right, number 5, you leave me no choice but to take the monster in Vegas, Tyree Wilson.
Oh, wow. I'm going to get my guy. I'm happy.
Right.
I'm going to get my other dude.
I got Tyree Wilson next on my board. The guy is just a monster. Like he's built, his frame is just almost unreal. He looks like an animal. And across from Max Crosby, there's a real world where Wilson could totally burst onto the scene and win this award. And he's just a dominant player, one of the strongest bull rushers and just strongest looking dudes you'll see. And his physique alone will probably get a lot of people looking his way, and I think he could be a pretty popular player over there in Vegas, and I think there's a real world where he can win this award, and his odds are pretty good as well.
Oh, 100%. The dude's just so big he's going to walk into some sacks because that's just kind of the player he is. And yeah, I mean, lining up against, on the other side of Max Crosby, Max Crosby's going to take, the number 1. He's going to be on the number 2 side. He has a real chance for some big production. And, that's at 5. That is a good pick. I think the only concern was he had like a foot injury that he might not start at the beginning of the year, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. But yeah, he's an absolute freak. He's built in a lab. You look at him and he just towers over everyone. And, he's coming into a friendly system. Chandler, remind me, I blank. Chandler Jones is still on the Raiders, right?
He is. Yep.
Okay, so I mean, he's going to have veteran leadership from him and him and
Max.
Max Crosby, and that's going to open up a lot of one-on-one opportunities where Max Crosby will probably be taking the double. So yeah, I could definitely see the sack production being high for Tyree Wilson.
Yeah, I genuinely think Tyree can be their second best player other than Max day one, which is crazy. So on defense, obviously. But yeah, let's
100%.
hear your number 6.
So my number 6, I'm just gonna throw a Hail Mary on this one. I'm ultra excited about this guy. I think he's gonna be a fun player. He's going into a team that I'm ultra excited about this season. But give me Jack Campbell here at 6.
Oh, he was my number 6 as well, actually. That's funny.
So I'm excited. I think he's gonna be, your old school thumper linebacker, but he's got sneaky upside in the coverage side of things. So I wouldn't be surprised, with that defense. I feel like, they're so much improved. I feel like they're going to be a team that gets a lot of picks this year, just a gut feeling. And I think he can be the beneficiary of a couple of them. And he plays that old school, big middle linebacker, and in Dan Campbell's system, him and Malcolm Rodriguez are going to be a fun duo together. That excites me. But I think he's going to come in here. He's going to get a lot of snaps. He's going to have 100+ tackles his rookie year. And if he got a couple sacks and a couple picks, I think he would be up there in the running for this award. I think, get a couple highlight reels, because I mean, he's got to have something. He's got to have some highlight reels that get people excited for it to get him votes. But I think he's a sneaky sleeper. Not rarely or not very often we see a linebacker win this award, but I think Jack Campbell has as good a shot as anyone.
Yeah, like you said, he's just a complete stat sheet filler, and the Lions absolutely, obviously love the guy with how high they took him and how highly they've talked about him all offseason. Such a Dan Campbell guy, he's gonna love him and have him out there with Malcolm Rodriguez. It'll be a really fun young duo, and he's gonna be a cornerstone for that defense, maybe the cornerstone for the defense. And the Lions are a hyped up team this year, like one of the more hyped up teams, and there truly is a world where Campbell as well can win this award based off of the volume that he'll be playing, the exposure, and he'll make some flashy plays.
100%. All right, who's number 7?
All right, it's another corner. I love my corners, and it's Joey Porter Jr. for the
Dang it.
Steelers.
Dang
Ah,
it. Dang it.
uh,
Dang it. That was my next guy. I did not think you're going that route.
looking at all the betting odds, he is just way too low. I don't really get it. It might be because they brought in Patrick Peterson, but Joey Porter is starting day one. There's no doubt about that. He's going to be a starter the day he turns a Steeler, and probably for the next 10 years. So don't
Mhm.
know why he's so low on the betting odds. I really think he could be the Steelers' best corner, obviously, and be a top corner in the NFL pretty soon. He's just such a lengthy, physical player, and he's a dog, and he just likes trash talking. And he's a player, obviously, going to be a fan favorite. He already is in Pittsburgh. His dad's like a god over in Pittsburgh, so he's already going to have a lot of fans. And there's a world where Joey Porter Jr. as well can win this award. He was so fun in college, and he's just a playmaker.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He's just a playmaker all over the field, and people are gonna fall in love because I mean this how they do the rookie of the year. I mean, you just when people fall in love with the story and everything, and I think Joey Porter's got the story. And I think he can be a guy if he gets a couple picks. He can definitely be in the running for this award, and I think he will. It's going to be like a storybook. Him playing as good as his dad there in Pittsburgh, and people are going to fall in love with that. And he's such a stud. And yeah, like you're saying, his rankings on this, on the sports betting things are way too low for a guy that I think is going to come into the NFL and have tons of production. I think he can be a big tackle guy. He's going to be a stat sheet filler at corner. I think they're kind of, they can even line him up. He can rush off the side. He can go play safety, and I just think he's going to play all over the field and make plays, and people are going to fall in love with that. So I'm sad you got him there at 7. I was going to take him here with my next pick, but I'm going to get into my number 8 pick, and I'm just going to kind of throw a little Hail Mary on this guy. We kind of talked a lot of crap on him being drafted as high as he was. He didn't deserve to be that high, but he's a guy that was, all over the field making picks in college, and that's Mr. Emmanuel Forbes. I mean, so he was a wide receiver turned corner, and he's been ultra productive with his hands. So he's a guy that came. I mean, they were banking on upside with this guy, getting picks at the next level, because I mean he had the production in college, and so if that translates to the NFL, maybe he's Tariq Woolen type guy who no one's expecting, him to do a ton, but he comes and has 6 picks in his rookie year. And that would be, a rookie of the year award winner right there. A guy with 6 picks. That's hard to not choose him. So I'm going to take the upside with Emmanuel Forbes. They drafted him high. He's going to get on the field. He's going to get a lot of playing time. So I'm sad you got Joey Porter, but I'll take the next corner here.
Yeah, you can't hate that pick. He fits that Washington defense like a glove, and he's a playmaker. He he'll make a lot of interceptions. He'll make a lot of pass breakups, and I like the way that Emmanuel Forbes plays. He's a risk taker, but that's kind of how you win these awards, high upside. So I think Emmanuel Forbes is going to be really solid on that defense. Bringing in Jartavius Martin, they're going to have a lot of a better secondary, and I think that Washington will. They could have a defense that warrants a defensive rookie of the year. They have the potential. Their defense.
100%.
I did have one corner ahead of Emmanuel Forbes. I had Emmanuel as my number 9 player. I did have Deontay Banks higher, so I'll take him next. I just absolutely love Deontay as a prospect. I thought he was the steal of the whole first round. I thought he was the best scheme fit of the first round, maybe the draft. I love Deontay Banks so much to the Giants, and I don't know why he fell. And as you can tell, I clearly love my cornerbacks, but man, Banks to the Giants was just such a perfect written in the stars fit, and I just think he's going to thrive in New York. And I really hope he starts day one because he's just so good. He's just such a good corner, just all around solid corner. He can be shut down day one as their honestly number 1 corner. They have some good corners, so he won't need to be, but I really think he can be their number 1 corner eventually. And there's a world where he turns into a rookie of the year in New York in that big market. If he can turn into their number 1 corner, kind of shut down some good receivers, and make some interceptions, I think Deontay Banks could. He's so good, man.
Oh man, he's going to be the guy. I think he's going to have just no targets his way. I think he's just going to be a really high pass. Like his pass rating when target is going to be like 26. He's going to allow only like 15 yards per game. He's that kind of corner. I don't see him having ultra high pick production, but I just see him being a shutdown corner. And I absolutely love Deontay Banks. And that's the only thing holding me back is just the ball production. And sadly, this award is not, if you don't have 7 picks, it's going to be harder to win the award. But even though he should definitely be up in this running because he's going to be a lockdown, shutdown corner, whoever's lined up on his side, set it and forget it. You're not targeting him. Such an athletic freak too. So I do love that pick. Now this makes it hard for my last pick. I had a few guys lined up. I kind of want to go into the defensive back. I feel like I should go edge. I'm going back and
This
forth.
last spot's hard. There's like 7 people who could be there. Like it's tough.
There's just a few people I want to do, but I'll do one for my honorable mentions. But I'll go edge just because it's probably the safer pick, and I'm going to go Mr. Lucas Van Ness right here.
Okay.
I think he can come into the NFL and he can be a guy that produces. There's no reason he can't have 10 sacks his rookie season. He has that much pass rushing upside. He's such a raw player, and I think he's going to be ultra productive this year. I think he didn't get a lot of opportunity at Iowa, but he's going to get more in the NFL, and people are gonna see why he was picked so high. And there's no reason he can't be a 10+ sack guy his rookie year. There's nothing holding him back. He just got to develop a little bit more of a pass rush repertoire, however you say that. And I'll throw a dart at Lucas Van Ness.
Yeah, I think he's in the exact similar build as a Tyree Wilson. I feel like so the Raiders have Chandler Jones, obviously, and the Packers have Preston Smith. But I feel like obviously Lucas Van Ness and Tyree Wilson will overtake both of those veterans really, really soon, probably during camp.
Right.
So I totally get what you mean. Lucas Van Ness could totally win Rookie of the Year as on the opposite side of who people compared him to coming out. Rashawn Gary, that's a nasty duo. And just like Tyree Wilson and Max Crosby, that's nasty. And just like Tyree Wilson, Lucas Van Ness is just a strong monster of a man, and he'll bull rush you out of the stadium. And so I love that dart throw there. Getting an edge rusher always have chances. If he can get over 10 sacks, they can always have a chance.
Throwing a dart. Edge rushers definitely have we've got a lot of corners. They've gone, so might as well throw a dart at an edge rusher. But I want to do an honorable mention. Do you want to do one?
Yeah, I have a few, man. Not gonna lie, I love defense so much. I love so many of these defensive fits. My number 10 guy that wasn't in our top 10 was Clark Phillips the third.
Oh,
I
I
think
like
he could genuinely be a top slot corner in the league as a rookie, like the best slot corner in the league. I really think so. Complementing some of their good corners, I think Clark Phillips is going to be great. And obviously, he's a smaller name. He's not going to have the big fan recognition to get him this award, but I think he's a real player that could be worthy. And I think Kalijah Cansey as well. I mean, he has a chance to be the Buccaneers' most productive pass rusher and as an interior defensive lineman. So I really think that there's a world where Kalijah Cansey could win the award. I just don't know how good the Buccaneers are going to be. So he was outside of my top 10. But let's hear some of your honorable mentions.
I agree with both of those guys. I think Clark Phillips is a sneaky guy to be like a pick leader in the NFL. He was so slept on, and I think he's gonna come out of nowhere, and people are gonna fall in love with him. And then
Mhm.
yeah, Kalijah Cansey lined up to Vita Vea as a match made in heaven. But my honorable mention is gonna be Brian Branch. I absolutely love this guy and the whole process. He's another slot corner safety hybrid kind of guy, and he just excites me. He's such a clean prospect, doesn't miss tackles, he can play anywhere, and I think I'm just excited for that Lions defense, to be honest with you. I think they're so improved this year. I think they're going to be such a fun team to watch. They're going to have a lot of prime time games, and I think Brian Branch, I know it's a little bit harder if they're listening at safety, but I think he can be ultra productive and he can play all over the field. So I want to throw him out there too.
And I'm going to throw one last name out for you, and that's Dion Henley. I think that Dion Henley, he was just
You
he's been
love
playing he's been playing the position for like a year, and he is such like a fun, flashy player. I really think that there's a world where he starts sooner than rather than later as a linebacker for the Chargers, and he's just a flashy playmaker for them and making like a pick every other game because that's what he does. He's a former receiver and he's just a playmaker, and I think Dion Henley has the upside with all the talent around him to really, really like. I genuinely think he could win the award if a few things goes away and he reaches his upside because he's such a talented, fun athlete.
And yeah, I love that. I love that you said that. I love that you had to throw a charger out there. It makes me happy, it makes me smile. But he's also, a lot of this award goes into flashiness, and he's kind of a flashy guy when he interviews. He's a funny dude. People are gonna love him. I'm sure there'll be interviews of him posted on NFL.com and all that stuff, on their Instagram page because he's a funny dude and he tries to be a little jokester. And that helped Sauce win the award last year because Sauce, his name's Sauce wearing the chain. If you have
Yeah,
a brand, that's definitely going to help you. And I think Dion Henley could step into that role as a flashy guy, and that helps him win that award. So I love that.
exactly. And I wasn't even saying it because he's a Charger. I really do think I had Dion Henley pretty high on my list, and I love it. And yeah, I want to just throw out a few other names. I'm not going to write them down or anything. Just keep note in your mind. Nolan Smith is going to be a beast on the Eagles. That defensive line is just ridiculous. If he was a starter, he would definitely be in our top 10. BJ Ojolari, he will start for the Cardinals day one. He might be their best edge rusher day one, and he could really be pretty productive as a rookie. Get a lot of sacks. Miles Murphy for the Bengals. He's going to be really good if he can get onto the field soon. And Miles Murphy has limitless upside with Lou Anarumo coaching him. Will McDonald, who was a 15th overall pick, he'll be a pass rush specialist for the Jets. So definitely look out for him. And then one last name is Drew Sanders for the Broncos, another linebacker. But I love Drew Sanders. And if he can get onto the field over Alex Singleton or Josie Jewell, I think that Drew Sanders can be like a cornerstone for the Broncos, and he's what they've needed for a long time. So I really hope he gets on the field soon.
Yeah, I love it all. I love it all. It's exciting. Defense was really fun to talk about. I love this episode. So for our next episode coming here on next Monday, we'll have Shane back on the podcast and we'll get back into our wide receiver rankings. So I'm looking forward to that. This has been fun doing these little drafts with rookie of the year odds. It's been a blast. Anything else you want to say, Dan?
Yeah, man, I always love talking rookies. I always love talking defense and cornerbacks. So this was a fun podcast for me. I love talking about it. I'm excited for our fantasy rankings next week with Shane. Yeah, stay tuned on the NFL Seekers podcast for everything that's coming up. We got a lot of fantasy football and just NFL deep dive content coming up. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Yes, sir. Follow us on all platforms. Like, share your comments. We would love to hear some feedback.
All right. Peace, guys. Thank you.